It says this meeting is being live streamed.
All right. So hopefully we are live on YouTube, Maria.
Hopefully.
Hopefully this is
This meeting is
working.
being live streamed.
Um, Hopefully this is working and everything is gonna be a-okay.
Yes. I mean, I see the live button.
You
So,
do.
yes.
Okay. So to everybody that is watching, we've had a little bit of a hiccup. I am not a tech person, and this is my first live video, so bear with me. Super excited to have Maria with me here today. Maria, thank you.
Of course, no problem.
I do appreciate you coming on here and joining us tonight. So, Maria came to me, about 2 years ago?
2 to 3 years ago, yeah.
Wow, 3 years ago. About 3 years ago, and she had taken the intake for temperament therapy.
hmm
And today, if you could just share quickly with us a little bit about yourself, and then I'm just gonna like throw in a little bio, and thanking everybody for joining us today.
Of course. So my name is Maria. I'm 18 years old. I've known Miss Donna for quite some time now. And I'm glad that even after we've had like the temperament counseling, I was still able to stay in contact with you and like get to still connect with you and see how you're doing, and then same the other way around. Um, I mean, I've been good. I've been doing really well, especially after the counseling. And I just thank you for you having me here today. It's been a very interesting thing. I've never done something like this before. So just thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm glad for everybody that's going to join us tonight. So I just want to let everybody know that tonight's conversation is really about not Maria being a perfect person or having it all together, but it's all about an understanding about how God uniquely designs each of us emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So, over the past couple of years, I've had the privilege of knowing Maria, walking alongside of her as a young woman through her temperament counseling. She is a very thoughtful, reflective, and deeply caring by nature, someone who processes life internally and feels things deeply, even when she doesn't always express them outwardly. During the season that we worked together, she experienced some significant loss in her life. She had a passing of
Mhm.
a very close friend. Prior to us coming, she had a mentor that had passed away, and that had brought her a deep sense of sadness and maybe a little loneliness in her life. She's also a pastor's daughter, which can come with some unspoken expectations to always being
Yes.
strong and faithful, even when your emotions are feeling a little bit heavy. In addition to that, she is strong with her faith, her culture, her temperament, and with all of that being said, and I believe that the temperament counseling also helped her find a language, right, and a
Mhm.
tools to be able to speak her emotions and kind of turn those things around, and any negative thoughts that she was having to be able to take those thoughts and turn them into some positive ones, and had a better
Mhm.
understanding of herself through it. So the temperament counseling didn't kind of replace her faith, or it strengthened it, and it gave her an understanding of a language and tools to see her emotions, that they weren't weaknesses, but her sensitivity is something that God designed in her, and it's not a flaw, and that her story matters. So tonight she's going to kind of share a little bit with us about that. So thank you again, Maria. I really do appreciate you joining us live.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, I just want to ask you a question. So we'll start everybody off. So when you were and your family were looking for some sort of Christian counseling, and you came across the temperament counseling, can you describe a little bit about where you were in your life, and what you were going through?
Yeah, so like you said earlier, I had experienced some loss. So to give a little bit of context or background, when I was 8, someone that I saw as like another father figure, he was really godly man. He was a very strong man of God. He had passed away when I was 8 years old, and he was one of the ones who like helped me get an understanding of who God was. And not to say that my biological father was a horrible father, because he was great. But there were times that I'm like, I need to speak to someone outside of my family, like just for certain things. And I went to him about it. I went to my godfather about it. But when he had passed, I had walked away from God. Like I was like, I want nothing to do with God. And I stayed in that anger towards God for 6 years.
Mm.
And around that time is when I found you, Miss Donna. Um, and I still hadn't gone over like the death of Kyle. That was his name. It was dragging me down. I was full of anger. I was full of like depression, and not necessarily depression where I'm like crying all the time, but like I can't ever feel joy kind of thing. I just never was able to have a single moment where if I was happy, I stayed happy. Like as soon as something negative happened, that was the end of my day. Like it just ruined it. So when I first found you, Miss Donna, and I first found like the temperament counseling, that's the area that I was at. I was more of like still a grieving stage, even though it happened six years ago. I was very upset, very angry with God, and I didn't know how to overcome it. I had met with another counselor before I met you, and I told him kind of what was going on, but I didn't tell him everything. So my parents made sure, all right, with this person, you're going to tell them everything because I really did need to get that out because keeping it in was destroying me. So that's the area of my life that I was at.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I really want to
Yeah.
say thank you for being vulnerable because it's not easy to put yourself out there. Um,
Hmm.
and especially, since counseling can be a very personal thing, but temperament counseling is a little bit different because it goes off of your temperament, right? Who God created you to be. And
Yes.
so when you came to me and we started talking and you disclosed that information, what you were experiencing, because 6 years is a long time to be feeling a loss. Um,
Hmm.
how did you feel after you learned a little bit about your temperament when it came to your thought process and your feelings and emotions? Like, was that something, um, was it when you found out what your temperament was it like an eye opening, like, hey, I am a melancholian in my thought process, which I know that I replay things in my mind consistently. And
Hmm.
I have a tendency to think downward thoughts and not upward thoughts, right? So
Yeah.
did you find that when you found that out about your temperament, that maybe you're like, wow, like an epiphany or a light bulb went off, or like, this is who I am, right? Now I know why I'm having
Yeah.
these repetitive thoughts. Did that happen for you?
Yes. So I'm glad you said it for me because I didn't remember how to say it properly. There are four different temperaments, and I remember I was a melancholy,
Okay.
which like means like overthinking. I could be loyal, but I could also be very sensitive. So I remembered what that was. That stayed with me. When I found out that there were like different temperaments, I'm like, wait, really? So when I found out exactly what I was, I'm like, that makes more sense. And the reason why it made more sense for me to find out what type of temperament I was is because then I knew, like, or I had an idea of how I could help control that, I guess, for lack of a better word, control it. Because then if I'm feeling a specific way, I'm like, okay, but I'm feeling this way because I'm an overthinker. Let's just try to calm down a little bit. I'm feeling this way because I'm very sensitive. Let's just try not to be so offended so quickly and just try to get the other person's perspective, kind of thing. So it took a while for me to have that mindset of just be like, take it easy, be patient, be calm about it. But once you helped me realize what it was, and of course, as I walked more in my relationship with Christ, it became a lot easier to control my emotions. It became a lot easier to control my way of thinking. Um, and again, like we said in the beginning, that does not mean I'm perfect at it.
Mhm.
I still have times where I slip, but it's helped me be a better person and grow better and not like be able to keep things in like I did before. Because now I can't even do that. No matter how much I want to, I'm like, I need to get this out. So, like recently, like I had something going on, and I'm like, nope, get it out. So I can't keep it in anymore now that I know what type of person I am, which
Yeah.
is kind of weird if you think about it, but it's true.
Yeah, it's such an enlightening moment when we find out
Yeah.
who we are inside. So
Hmm.
I too share the same temperament with you in
Hmm.
my mind in inclusion. So it's so with my relationships with people. So I relive consistently in my head. Like if a situation happens, I think about it all the time. And
Mm,
I always tend to think downward thoughts myself. So God has taught me how to say, hey, wait a minute, like take captive your thoughts, right? So the Bible
mhm.
tells us to take captive our thoughts and renew our mind continuously. Because if we don't do that, what winds up happening is I know that your family was worried at a time, like maybe you were suffering from depression.
Yeah.
And because you have because you're a melancholy in your inclusion, when we looked at that, it wasn't that you were depressed. It was just like, how do I stop these thoughts? How can God
Hmm.
turn those thoughts into a positive mindset? And
Yeah.
how can I change the way, like, hey, I'm having a downward thought right now. I need to find my toolbox to find those scriptures that are going to lift my thinking back up and not concentrate so much on um that thought process.
Yes, definitely.
But then it gets coupled to Maria with your affection area because you're also a very deep person.
Hmm.
So you're a very deep person who loves very deeply.
Hmm.
So with that coupled, like having those thoughts about the grief and your mentor and that person that had passed away, now you have all of these affection emotions going on in your affection area where you felt, like overwhelmed by that sadness because
Hmm.
it was like still living inside of you. Can you explain a little bit what that was like? Because we're going to go from the mind to the affection area.
Well, for starters, like again, he was a very godly man and he was very loving. He was probably the most patient Christian I've ever met. And like you could do whatever you want, he was still gonna be like, all right, well, let's not do it that way. I'm like, how are you so calm? Like I would have lashed out in anger by now. He was so patient, he was so gentle. And I guess one of the things that made me like feel very uncomfortable with other people is because I didn't see another Kyle. So no one was able to give me the exact same thing that he gave me. And my emotions, my feelings and stuff like that started to like clumped together. Like I didn't really want to show any kind of emotion. And if I did, I felt like someone took it the wrong way or someone would take advantage of it, I guess. I'll use that phrase, take advantage of my feelings and stuff like that. So I really just didn't feel comfortable like showing any kind of emotion, but I didn't want to make it seem like I was being rude or being disrespectful, which is what I often off as when I just like didn't want to deal with anything. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yeah, no, it does because right, because sometimes people can take that as you being standoffish, right? Like a
Mhm.
little snobbish or something like that, right? But
Yeah.
in affection, you're a pragmatic, sanguine, so you're a peacemaker in
Mhm.
your heart. So you don't like
Yeah.
confrontation, you know,
Yeah.
and that, so with that, and you're very outgoing. So
Hmm.
couple that with a melancholy with relationships, it could kind of like come together like this just because you could be like a little bull because
Hmm.
because you are also somebody who believes in justice, right? The
Yeah.
right way, righteousness, right? And especially
Hmm.
godly righteousness. So I think when all of that came into play, it was just really having a better understanding of those things. Um,
Yeah.
and I think about like when I think about too is like, you had the relationships with your siblings too, right? So
Yeah.
it was really just I think about learning about how to have relationships in a godly way or through your temperament.
Hmm.
So do you think that when you found out what your temperament was with relationships and the affection area, did that help you with your siblings as well? Because you were able to learn how to communicate what you were feeling when you were feeling it with them.
Yeah. Um, in a way, it did. It definitely made my relationship with my siblings like a lot better. Because after I had lost Kyle, I had completely lost my relationship with all three of them. So as I got to discover myself a bit more, along with like your help, with my parents' help, with me growing in Christ in general, I definitely got better with them and I was able to read the room. Because something that like I struggled with too, and I'll admit this, is like even if I was in a good mood, if my siblings weren't, I would just like have the heart like, okay, let me try to make them happy. But like the way I did it was just kind of like annoying them. So it wouldn't help the way I wanted to, which would again made me like clump up, like, okay, just don't say anything, just don't speak, because every time you speak, you make things worse, kind of thing. But the more I discovered my temperament, the more I discovered who I was and like how to control my emotions and control my overthinking mind. I was able to be like, okay, just because she said that doesn't mean she hates you. You're her sister. She still loves you. Don't even go into that mindset. And I had to sit there and just like calm myself down. And she goes, why? This is my sister. She goes, why are you crying? I'm like, because I thought I got you upset. She goes, no, you're not the reason I'm upset. I'm upset at something else. I just didn't want to, like, I just needed to stay focused right now. I'm not upset with you. So even having that confirmation, like, she doesn't hate me. She's not angry with me. She just needs time to herself. That made me feel a bit better. And we didn't have that before. Me and my brothers and my sister, whenever someone was angry, they were just angry. Like there was no explanation. But now we can talk to the other person and be like, hey, I'm feeling this way. I need time to myself. When I'm ready, I may not be 100%, but when I'm ready, I will come out. You and I can just do whatever we were planning on doing together because I need to get my mind in a different area. Like I need to like clear my mind of different stuff and I'll spend time with you. But right now I just need to be by myself. So the more I discovered myself, the more my relationship with them got better. And I actually think they started picking up the things I was doing too. Like and started working with them on themselves too.
I think that's great because
Hmm.
that kind of, I had another question I was going to ask you about, like, what did you learn about boundaries, expectations, and emotional safety through your
Hmm.
temperament? And that's kind of what you did, right? So you learned how to communicate and then
Yeah.
communicated healthy boundaries without
Hmm.
anger, without fear, because a lot of times too, the temperament that you had, fear and rejection are huge, right? So we're
Yes.
always fearful of somebody rejecting us. So we're always going to think, did I do something wrong? Could I do
Hmm.
something better? Did I say that in a wrong way? You know,
Hmm.
and we're always going to put that on our shoulders. Um,
Hmm.
but you learned, it sounds like what you've learned from the temperament counseling was the boundaries that were needed to be communicated, but really healthy, loving boundaries,
Yes.
right? And do you feel that that gave you some emotional safety within yourself?
Yes, definitely.
That's great. That's great because that's what it's about, right? Learning who you are, right?
Hmm.
God created you to be, and then working through that because in those three areas that we worked on, but because you had some unmet needs and you were going through, a little bit of grief at the time, and then unfortunately you also lost one of your best friends when we were seeing each other as well.
Yes, I did.
Do you feel that temperament counseling helped you deal with the second loss a little bit? Not that loss that could ever be dealt with, in a way that you're not going to grieve, but do you feel like it helped you navigate some of those grieving emotions differently than from when your friend passed away 6 years prior?
1,000,000%.
Really?
Yeah. I think I'm pretty sure I said this to you. I know I said this to my mom when it happened, but unfortunately in 2023, like March 31st, my friend who was 12 years old passed away. And he died similarly to Kyle, like they both died of cancer. So before the 12-year-old boy had died, my friend, I remember saying to you, he's not going to die. Like, and the reason why I was so confident in saying that is because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm trying to restore my relationship with Christ. And this was around the time I had just started becoming a Christian again. So I'm like, God won't let the same thing happen twice. And then I remember you saying to me, okay, I am glad that you are so positive. You show that you're growing, but heaven forbid, what will you do if so and so does pass away? I remember you saying that. And I'm like, I don't think he will, but if he does, I'm gonna make sure I don't handle it the same way I did with Kyle. Because with Kyle, I ruined my relationship with my family to a point where I felt like it was never gonna be restored. I walked away from God, and that only made my life harder. And I knew that no matter what happened with my friend, I'm like, I'm not going to let that same thing happen again. Sure enough, 4 months after I had that conversation with you in March, he did pass away. And I remember being angry. I remember screaming because I was at youth group when it happened. So I was punching the ground in front of everyone in youth group, just like screaming and angry. But as soon as I was done, I'm like, I'm fine now. Like it was so weird. Like I'm just like, I'm okay now. I know I'm upset, but I know that this isn't God's fault. And not saying that Satan did this because it might have been God, but I don't feel angry about the situation. I just feel angry that he's gone, kind
Mm.
of thing. But I know I'm going to see him again. I know that he's okay. I know he's no longer in pain. So, where my mind when I was 8 immediately started blaming God, my mind when I was 15, that's how old I was when he passed away, was like, no, let me think of the positives. I asked for him to be healed. He's in heaven. He's not here, but he's technically is healed. He's not dealing with this anymore. He's okay. He's safe. Like technically in a weird way, God did answer my prayer. So my mind immediately went to positive thinking where I was always seen as like, and even to myself, I saw myself as a negative person. So that definitely helped the things and the tools that you were giving me to overcome that before it even happened. I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. And then you and I spoke with each other even after he passed, like, how are you doing? And I said, it's hard, but I'm okay. I'm okay. And like that is not a normal reaction when someone passes away. Like you would expect them to hold on to it for a long time. And I was just like, 2 days, I'm good. Like I know he's okay. I'm good. Um, and I didn't think I'd have that reaction. I just knew I didn't want to do what I did before. So that definitely helped.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember walking with you when you went through that, and that was a tremendous breakthrough for you because
Hmm.
we want, as believers, we know God can do anything at any time, and we know He
Yeah.
can heal anybody anytime. And that's our faith, right? So our faith
Hmm.
is always going to be stronger than our circumstances. And I
Hmm.
love what you said about like when I was 8, I walked away from God. But
Hmm.
now being 15, understanding my design, my makeup, God allowed me to still grieve, but then He didn't let me stay there, right?
Yeah.
Because He taught you how to change. I think, right? I'm going to see Him again. We're going to
Hmm.
be together again, right? In glory. But as an 8-year-old, right? You're not thinking like that's not death is forever to an 8
Hmm.
year old, but to 15, coming back to God and having a little bit more of a relationship with him personally, right? And
Yeah.
having a better understanding that like, hey, he has not left you. He's with you. And, you can still have faith that, your friend could have been healed, but God just called him home earlier. Right.
Yes.
So right, he just called him home earlier. And then when you see him, it's going to be for eternal, not just
Hmm.
here for a small window. And so that's going to bring me to my next question because you said something like when you were 8, you walked away from God. And then at 15, you and I started like seeing each other. So you're a pastor's daughter, right? So there could be some pressure there. You know what I mean? Because
Oh yeah.
you're a pastor's daughter. You should automatically love God no matter what. You should
Hmm.
automatically, have a better understanding. But that's not always the case, right? So
Hmm.
did you feel at any time because you were a pastor's daughter that you had to hide those emotions and just kind of like save face for the church's sake, or and not really be able to be true to yourself and authentic, be like, no, listen, I love God, but like this is happening in my life, and that was somebody I love dearly, and now they're not here. Why would God do such a thing?
Hmm. Yeah. And I don't know if there's any like other pastors' kids who may be watching this. But being a pastor's kid, and I'm not an actual pastor, but being a pastor and watching my parents, that's not easy. And the reason why I know for a fact it is not easy, although I'm not a pastor, is because when you're preparing the sermons and then you're saying it to your congregation, what you preach, you have to live at home. So if you're telling people that they need to live this kind of way, but someone catches you being abusive to your wife, being horrible to your kids, you're not around your kids, you're not spending time with your family, that's not going to look good on the pastor. It's especially not going to look good on the pastor when the pastor is instructing parents to do certain things for their kids, and then the own pastor's child is like, I want nothing to do with God. So even, I think I might have said this to you. I can't remember who I said this to. Although I didn't want anything to do with God, I never wanted to make it seem like I was so against God that it made it look bad on my parents.
Right.
So, um, I know I made mistakes that the whole church knew about. And they were like, what is wrong with her? But I didn't want to make such a mistake where it would question my parents' like authority in the church because my pastor, my dad was the associate pastor, so he was the second in command with like the ministries and the church and stuff like that. And then my mom was the youth pastor. So I didn't want to do anything that could get them fired. I didn't want to do anything that would make it seem like they're not living what they're preaching at church back at home. Um, so I definitely had pressure, and that's the same with my other three siblings. Like they can say the same thing that they almost had to be perfect. I almost had to be perfect in public. Because as soon as we made a mistake, it's like, oh, well, you're the pastor's kid. Is that how you're supposed to be living? I'm like, yeah, I'm a pastor's kid, but I'm also a person. Like the same way that you're a person and you have emotions goes for me. Just because I have a specific title, it doesn't change the way that I act. Like, I'm only 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. Like, I'm going to go through things. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be frustrated. I may not handle it in the best way, but you can't look at me and be like, how dare you do this when you probably do the same thing at home too. Um, so that was very frustrating. I really did feel like I had to be as close to perfect as possible, especially after I got saved, because right when I got saved, my friend passed away. And then there was another situation that happened that you and I know about. And I had to hide that completely. So it really did just make me not trust the church
Mm-hmm.
because of that. But at the same time, I had to remember the church is not God. So don't blame God for what's happening in the church. And that's not an easy thing for pastors' kids to remember. Like, however the church may treat you is not how God is treating you. So that's something me and my siblings have to remember.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yes.
And speaking from the heart there, right? So there's that persona that you should be perfect because you're a pastor's child, like you said, right? Your
Mhm.
father's doing a sermon and the church is looking at every little thing that you do, and that you're not supposed to be a kid and you're not supposed to have these emotions and you're not supposed to have these feelings. But God created us to have emotions and feelings. He even had emotions and feelings, right? So he
Mhm.
showed that to us plenty of times in his word. I mean, when Lazarus died, he wept. When
Yep.
the church was defiling the temple, he got angry. He
Mhm.
even rebuked his best friend Peter, right? So that's what I love about the Bible, right? It tells real stories in it. And
Yeah.
so if Jesus had emotions, I don't think God, and he's God in himself. So he's not going to create us as a perfect person, like being like without those things. So
Mhm.
uh, I do sympathize with somebody who's been hurt in the church, because you made a clear statement that is so profound, right? The church is not God. And we have to
Mhm.
remember that we're all human. We all fall short. We have all done things that we wish that we could take back. Um,
Yeah.
but the pressure is there for a pastor's family, and that is very evident. And so I think that's something that does need to change in the church.
Mhm.
And I'm so proud of you because you've come so far. You've come so far, and I just love talking to you and just communicating with you today. I could see such a difference when you first came. You
Mhm.
were communicative, but you weren't as communicative, and you've learned how to communicate how you're feeling, and
Mhm.
be able to say how you're feeling in a way that other people are going to respond to it in a positive way and not a negative way. And I love how that's changed your life. if what could you leave today with somebody? What could you say to another person, especially your age, right?
Mhm.
So you guys, your age group is going through a lot of different emotions, right? So
Yes.
such an identity crisis going on right now with your age group. There's such a crisis going on with purpose. Like, what was I created for? Why am I even here on this earth?
Mhm.
There's there's just so much going on with your age group as far as, you know, um, having to have dealt with COVID, having to have been locked up for 2 years, not understanding that social media isn't just your life. You can still go out and communicate and be involved and find community. What
Yeah.
would you say to somebody that is feeling lonely or overwhelmed, somebody who is your age? What,
Mhm.
what kind of inspiration can you give them?
Well, I can say this now that I have been like going through different series of events for several years now. I still struggle with finding that one friend who can consistently be there for me, someone I can grow with. I currently am 18 and I still don't have that one friend who will call me whenever I need someone to talk to, who will text me just at the right time without them even knowing. So I can understand like the loneliness and like the feeling of just feeling like you may have your family, you may have your friend group, but you don't have that one person to just let out your anger with. You don't have that one person to just be there. Um, and I can say this confidently, I have grown in my relationship with Christ to such a point where I know the difference between praying to him and talking with him. Like there is a strong difference. Like I pray to God, but then I talk to my Father. And I can say with confidence once like you don't necessarily have to get to this stage, but even once you just learn to just pray and just talk with God, you may still feel lonely. Like I will admit, about a week ago, I had a talk with God and I'm like, God, I know you're here. I know you're getting me through it, but if this has been 2 years now and I still don't have that one friend, and I cried. I was upset. I'm like, I really am waiting on this one friend, and it's been 2 years and I still haven't gotten them yet. Where are they? And I said, no matter how long it takes, I'm going to remain faithful, but get me through it. Help me to be patient. Help me to have self control. Help me to just trust in you. So, if you really are feeling alone, if you really are feeling like no one understands you because, like, maybe you struggle with the same thing I did where you just can't communicate right, or people just don't understand you, period, there is someone out there, God, who does understand what you're going through, who does understand your situation better than anyone else. And like you said, Miss Donna, like he does have emotions. He does like struggle, or not struggle, but he does have situations where he's angry. He has situations where he's sad, and he understands you better than anyone. And we all need that one person to just cry with, to just release our anger, just like help us get through it, and he will provide that person, but we first need to trust him. We first need to rely on him. We first need to go to him about it, and it's going to take time. It's not like instantly where you're going to get it, but remain faithful to him, trust in him, trust the process, because the process is going to be difficult. It's going to hurt. It's going to be rough, but at the end of it, it's going to be worth it. And I believe it's in James where he says, consider it all joy, brothers and sisters, when you face trials of various kinds. So like it's going to be very hard, but the reward will be unbelievably like incredible. Like it will be worth it at the end. So I hope that that's an encouragement to someone who may be struggling with the same thing I'm going through right now. So that's just my motivation and my encouragement for them.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And listen, we're never alone, right? God says that
Yeah.
sometimes physically, or we might not have somebody in our life, but you have learned how to stop depending on people and stop depending on your emotions. And you have transferred that into your faith and leaning on your Heavenly
Hmm.
Father, right? Because
Yes.
times he's our father, there's times he's our counselor, there's times he's our friend. I mean, sometimes
Hmm.
my conversations with God, I'll be like, really? Like, I sometimes prayers get answered immediately, and then sometimes I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm like, God, I've been
Hmm.
praying for something now for, I don't know, 5 years, and it still hasn't come. But I
Oh,
still believe that God, right? There's a timing for everything, and God
yes,
loves his people so much. So he's not going to give me something I'm not ready for either, right? So
exactly.
he's not going
Hmm.
to give me something. And like you said, right? So whatever trial, whatever tribulation comes, perseverance is what he's teaching us, right? We've
Hmm.
got to learn how to endure because we're in such a microwave community. Like we want everything right away. And I'm guilty of that all the time. Okay, let's go. Chop, chop. I prayed. Now answer me, but it doesn't happen that way. And I love, you know, he promises to give us a hope and a future
Hmm.
if we give him all those things, right? He came so we could have life and live it abundantly no matter what. So, Maria, keep praying for that friend. I also will stand in prayer with you for, that friend that you're looking for. But hey, part of your temperament, girl, is that you're a leader. So I want to encourage you, like, if there's a need in the community, which it sounds like there is for
Hmm.
young people like your age 18, outside of like a youth group, because I know that they
Hmm.
age out a little bit in churches. Uh,
Yeah.
but maybe there's a something that, like, again, you're a leader, you're a strong leader. That's
Hmm.
part of your temperament, but maybe God's calling you to create an environment where people can come together in a community at your age and find out those friendships that they're looking for.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely believe that is part of my calling. I actually said that to someone that I had a conversation with God, and he's like, one of my callings for you is like you're gonna help me grow my family. Not he didn't necessarily say the kingdom, but like my family. Go out and find the lost and welcome them into the church, welcome them into my home kind of thing. So I've listen, I'm an introvert. It might not seem like that on here, but I am an extreme introvert. So when he's like bring people in, I'm like, so I have to talk to people. So but I have met quite a few people that are not saved that I have gotten to know a bit more. And I said to my mom, I'm like, if it's okay with you, I would like to invite them over to the house to have a Bible study. And she goes, yes. So I've invited a few people. They're going to come over winter break and I'm going to minister to them because again, I want to fulfill God's calling for my life. And if it really is to grow his family, I want to make sure I'm doing it right. So I'm going to try my hardest to use that leader aspect that God has given me that you're saying that I have, but make sure God is in the center of it. I don't want to use a gift that he's given me and not give him the honor and the credit for it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're gonna be just fine, kiddo.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you coming live tonight. I appreciate you spending time with us. I know it's going to bless somebody, even if it just blesses one person. That's all we can ask for. It definitely blesses me because I haven't seen you in a long time, and it was great catching up. And it's just wonderful to see how far you've come, and the things that you're going on in your life, and where you're gonna go. So I'm just super
Mhm.
excited for you. So thank you, and
Thank you.
that's about all we have. So, if you enjoyed this video, I want to encourage you. Temperament counseling is a great way to find out who God created you to be. As you can tell, Maria is a great testimony of that. God has taken her from one place and then he's continuing her journey, right? We're never really at the place we're supposed to be until he calls us home. It's
Hmm.
about finding out who you are, who you're designed to be, and then living on purpose, for purpose. And it sounds like Maria is doing that. And I don't think, if I had to go back and track the steps, God is showing her how to communicate in a healthy way, how to understanding her emotions and feelings through her temperament, and now is going to lead her into helping others. God doesn't use our disappointments to keep us in disappointments. He takes those disappointments and turns them, like she said, into his glory so we can do what he's called us to do. So if you've enjoyed this and if you are interested in getting to know what your temperament is, please look at the description below. You can find all the information. You can go to our website. We are on Facebook. We do have a new Facebook site, so it's Faithfully Connected, and then also on Instagram. So if this is something that you would be interested in, feel free to contact us. Maria, thank you again. A pleasure seeing you.
Thank you so much, my friend.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I don't know if I stopped it. Did I stop it? Did I stop it? Am I talking? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but
I
the
don't know
live
if
is
I
still on.
stopped it. I can't see you. It's so weird. I don't know where to find you again. All right, I'm gonna cut out of Zoom.
Okay.
Bye.